Hello and welcome. This is Richard Rosen, Winnipeg's friendliest undertaker, with part two, an interview that we've been doing here on our pre-recorded Facebook Live events with Betsy Ehrenberg, who is the CEO of Legacy Concierge, and we're co-hosted again today with Sharon Hartung, who is the author of Your Digital Undertaker. So, as many of you know, when I started the Facebook Live events back in August. It's really to bring an awareness to a number of topics, whether it's digital assets or green burials, and changing the way we do things with funerals. And you can probably appreciate that sometimes it's pretty tough for me to be able to reach out to folks and have that conversation, because it's hard to talk about your final days. So it's a softer topic to talk about something that all of us have in common, and that's technology. And it is part of our estates. Executors are digital executors, and pretty much every single executor is going to have to deal with a Facebook account or a number of other assets, including door locks and light bulbs and thermostats. And those are digital assets as well. It's no longer about golf clubs and dishes. So we're really pleased to have Sharon here as host, and Betsy to answer some questions about her company. And we're just going to turn it right over to Sharon. And if you could just kick us off with the questions. Sharon, the floor is yours.
Thanks so much, Richard. I really appreciate the fact that you're fostering this dialogue about this important digital topic. And it's tremendous that we get this opportunity to talk with some of the tech entrepreneurs that are leaders in their fields and in helping us figure this out. So Betsy, always a pleasure to get together with you, but let's get into the nuts and bolts of it. As you know, I'm always looking for what you've seen lately. Can you tell us a little bit about how you've solved an estate administration case, that being a family or fiduciary that's come to you and said that I need some help?
Absolutely, Sharon. We have closed hundreds of accounts, but two situations illustrate why digital asset accounting and proactive access after death is essential. The first situation was when there was a sheeted property in an estate that was handled in the state of Arizona. A sheeted property is abandoned property that is turned over to the state because the person holding the property, the bank or the insurance company, wrote out a check and the check was never canceled. So in this particular case in Arizona, what was missing, or what we discovered, was cash, $177,000 from a title company, because there was an overlapping payment by check to a decedent. And because of the death, the check was never cashed, and the title company needed to turn over the asset to the Secretary of State. Using our AutoGrab technology, we located that record. We turned it over to the attorney, who then was able to get $177,000 back to the son. Basically, he received a windfall from his mom. The second case was regarding Google and Apple files. In this case, the widow wanted data, but went to Google and Apple and asked for the password of her husband's account. Neither Google nor Apple would provide the password, and she was stuck. So she contacted us. And what we know from our experience is that Google and Apple will not give you the password, but they are required by law to give you the contents of the accounts of a decedent once you prove to them that you have the ability to get access to that information. And when I say access, I don't mean that you can sign on. The widow can't sign on, the attorney can't sign on, but Google will, when presented with the right documents, turn over data. And in the first case, 5 years of data files, emails, documents were delivered on a flash drive within 10 days of the request. What was the lesson we learned? Don't ever ask Google or Apple to give you the password, because they remember that you asked And then the next time you go back and talk to them, they'll say, we've already discussed this. We're not giving you the password, and basically turn you off. Be persistent, follow the rules, and force Google to turn over the documents. If you're really having trouble, of course, you contact our company and we handle the whole process for you.
So we know Google has pre-planning tools in Active Account Manager, and we certainly would encourage people to use it so they don't have to go into recovery mode. Apple currently doesn't have any pre-planning tools, which is unfortunate. So let's talk about the tangible stuff, like our locked laptops and computers and tablets. What if a client or fiduciary executor has a locked device? How can your company help?
In that particular case, it all depends upon the model of the device and whether or not the user had put in additional security. In some cases, we have been able to physically take those devices to an Apple store, and their staff has, when presented with the correct documentation, which we know how to write because Google gave us the outline. And Apple gave us the outline, said, you have to produce a document that says the following things. You can't misplace a comma. It has to be written exactly as they say. However, Apple changes their rules every 90 days. So that's why we as a company have a research team that is in the process and on an ongoing schedule to call the big players in Silicon Valley and the financial community and say, what are your access rules today? I can talk about all those rules, they change a lot, but let's go on to the next question about really updating an inventory of digital assets.
Absolutely. So, I'm a huge proponent of pre-planning. The fact that we have a paradigm shift in the use of our digital lives, we can't leave it. But it's great to know that there are tech entrepreneurs out there who are trying to help us on the other end of the equation. So, an estate inventory has traditionally had our tangible assets, our physical assets. It's a longstanding advice estate planners have provided. We're now recommending that it includes our digital assets. But here's an interesting question: how often should somebody update their estate inventory, whether that's their digital life or their physical or property rights?
Well, Sharon, we didn't know the answer to that question initially. So we interviewed over 100 attorneys and trust administrators from Boston to San Diego. We even interviewed somebody in Toronto. And what we found was trust and estate attorneys generally want to review their clients' objectives and documents every 3 years. With many second marriages, stepchildren, and deliberately hidden assets, existing financial plans and supporting wills and trust documents often do not reflect the wishes of the client. So when the trust officer or attorney provides digital asset education for their client, essentially they are using the digital asset education materials that we have provided them with. The attorneys, the financial planners, then can encourage their clients to provide an updated inventory of the estate, and therefore the professional can better plan for the client's legacy. We've learned that most clients don't want to talk about what will happen when they pass. What they do want to think about is wealth preservation and the legacy they will leave behind. So the professional teams like to update the trust and estate plans and supporting documents every 3 years and use the message, we are protecting your legacy. The topic of digital asset protection is relatively new. Estate planners providing digital asset protection education address many of the issues supporting wealth preservation, and this education allows the client to consider both tangible and digital assets and to document how these assets will be included in their legacy plan. The estate planners who do not consider digital assets during the planning process are producing a plan that may be incomplete, incorrect, and not current at the time of death. Those are the 3 C's. All the documents should be complete, correct, and current at time of death. So without pre-death organization, digital photos and the partially written manuscripts may be lost. We need to remind our friends and professional colleagues that identifying digital assets after death is a treasure hunt of giant proportions, and many sentimental and valuable estate assets may disappear. Old insurance policy, retirement accounts for previous employers, online brokerage accounts, and second homes may not have existed during the initial estate planning effort. Therefore, at the time of death, these assets are often not documented, and therefore they are lost forever. Our Legacy Concierge technology does an extensive search right after death to locate electronic records representing valuable assets in the estate. AARP reports that over $58 billion in assets are never claimed by the estate every year because these assets were not described in electronic records that the family knew about prior to the death. Scary.
It's scary. Yes, there's a growing statistic in Canada too. When you look at our lost property registries and our Bank of Canada lost bank account, I think you make an important point about the need to, on a more frequent basis, update our inventory. Certainly prior to, accelerated use of digital assets. A typical estate planner would say, it depends on your circumstances, obviously, and every 5 years. I think we're trending to every 3 years. And from a technology perspective, I'd suggest it may even be an annual basis, given how fast technology is moving. Now, with that, I'm going to bring you back to the question I had from part one. This is obviously the content that we've heard about today is terrific, and it's applicable to a global audience. But can Canadians take advantage of your estate planning services and your estate administration services? And I guess the last question to close us off was, how can someone reach you?
Of course, thank you. We have worked with one Canadian attorney located in Toronto, and we found, with very minor exceptions, we were able to assemble an inventory of the estate, identify assets, and then systematically go to the custodians and tell them the records you have on file belong to a deceased person. Since your headquarters are in the United States, you must comply with the laws of the state in which your headquarters are located. Southwest is located in Texas, American Airlines in Oklahoma, Google and Apple in California. There are laws in place that force these custodians to turn over the digital assets. When we have had to work with a company that has their headquarters in Canada, we've had to just use some very nice questions and say, you really do want to help, don't you? And with the exception of one particular company, we were able to get the custodian to turn over the digital assets of the decedent. In order to contact us and see a demonstration, what we would suggest is everybody visit our website, www.legacy-concierge. And on that site, you will learn about the digital assets that we have talked about and that should be organized. And then in the menu, you can click on the demo button and see how easy it is to upload information. Today and in the near future, any person, whether it's a professional attorney or just an individual, can reach out to Legacy Concierge and send an email through the website, and it will go to info@legacy-concierge.com, or you can actually use the phone, that old-fashioned device, and call our service team at 650-380-0688. We are located in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and we have affiliate liaisons from New York City to San Francisco.
That's terrific, Betsy. Always wonderful to catch up with you and always learn something new every time. So I'll turn it back over to Richard to close part 2.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Betsy, for all your insights and especially the zeal that you have for being able to reach out and help people, the average person on the street, but also the professionals that they sit across the table from when they're working their estate planning. It's really important that the professionals in the other industries are aware of the services that your company is providing. So thank you very much. And to Sharon, thank you once again for being with us here today. So we'll be hosting some other digital events, and I'll be interviewing some other tech entrepreneurs in this estate space. And for those who are listening and who are tuning in for the second time, we really appreciate your following along with what we're talking about here today. And if it gets you thinking about your own pre-planning for your own funerals, please reach out to me. Happy to spend some time talking with you. And if you do pre-plan with me, a free copy of Sharon's book, Your Digital Undertaker, will be given to you as well. Before we wrap up and say our final thank yous, the information that we've got here today mentions vendors and services and providers to illustrate points, and we're really not endorsing any particular company. The information that we're providing is for information only, and it's really up to you to make a determination on the direction that you want to go with the services that you wish to reach out to. So with that, we thank you again for joining us. We'll be looking forward to seeing you again and interviewing some of the other tech entrepreneurs in this area and a lot of other topics as well. So Betsy, again, thank you. Sharon, thank you for co-hosting with me today. This is Richard Rosen, Winnipeg's friendliest undertaker, signing off. Take care.